Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective podcast. My name is Nathaniel and I'm joined once again with my good friend Matt. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, yourself? All good?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. A few hockey games to catch up on this week. No spoilers, but my Minnesota Wild got another win, so happy days. Woo! Right. Obviously, a bit of a short week this week in comparison. We moved from Wednesday to Monday, so there's a few less games to cover, but some quality games and results nonetheless. But before we get to that, we'll hit. I think there's only sort of one piece of major news that we're going to talk about today, and that's again another contract. This time for a goalie, Jacob Markstrom in New Jersey. Do you want to lead off on that?
Yeah, 2 years, $6 million per. Personally, for me, I think that's a bit of a rough deal. I think Markstrom was fantastic a couple of years ago, but he just doesn't really do it for me. I think Allen's been playing better this season. I think that's a little bit of an overpay. I think they're paying more for past performance, which is never a good direction for a GM to be traveling in. But they're not strapped down to it long term. He is 35. Potentially, it might be a contract that they maybe look to move. In that last year if he's struggling, but. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be up there anytime soon as like worst contracts in history or anything like that. But for me, it's a bit of an overpay. But he can be a very solid goaltender on his day. So yeah, it kind of is what it is, really. Not great, but not bad.
Yeah, I think he's had a poor start to the year, and then he had some time on injured reserve. He'd come back, he had a bit of a shaky game, and then he's actually put in a good performance recently. So maybe he's on the turnaround. But I do think with where the Devils are at in terms of the star players and are they in prime contention to push for a Stanley Cup, etc. Putting $6 million into Jacob Markstrom at this time, is it a good deal? At least it's not sort of 4 for $4 million, because I think that might have come out for worse. And maybe just sort of front loading it a little bit. But yeah, bit of an interesting one. Let's see how it plays. Like every contract's designed, some hit and some don't.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I think other than that, there wasn't other, much news otherwise to get around the league. So we'll just jump into the teams, like Nathaniel said. Few less games this week, so it will be a slightly shorter episode than usual, I think, with most teams having only played sort of 2-3 games, some teams even only one. So we'll just jump right into it, and I believe we're starting again in the best division in hockey. We're starting in the Central Division.
Yeah, and not moving at the moment is the Colorado Avalanche. They've again a solid, I think, week from them. Potentially flip the results for what we would have expected them. They beat the Golden Knights 4-2 before going away to San Jose and losing in overtime. But I think 3 points from those two games, not the end of the world. And obviously, Martin H coming out after signing a new contract with 2 goals and 2 assists. So can't get better than that in a minute, I think.
Yeah, it always settles your nerves down, doesn't it, when someone signs a big new deal and then they come out and they maintain that productivity. There's nothing worse than someone securing the bag and then deciding they're just going to go AWOL afterwards. But yeah, win against the Golden Knights. A bit of a shock overtime loss to the Sharks, who they're just there to just piss on everyone's good time, aren't they? They're just like, they're not going to win that many games this season of the Sharks, and I know we'll cover them, but they're just there just to ruin some other people's nights. But they're in the middle of a 4-game road stretch at the moment. Now they've got, well, actually, no, they don't. They've got a home game coming up against the Lightning, and before another couple of road games against the Oilers and the Canucks. So again, they've got some slightly tricky games. I'm not concerned about the Avalanche in being able to pick up some points there at all. I think they've been the best team in hockey more or less this year, and I think that'll continue. Obviously, they've got McKinnon, Makar, Natchez, all just absolutely rolling in the points at the moment, and they're still getting good goaltending from Scott Wedgwood as well. So yeah, happy with them.
Yeah, I think Blackwood's come back now. Obviously, Wedgwood and Blackwood aren't like the big standout names in terms of goalkeeping in the league, but Wedgwood's had a fantastic start to the year, and Blackwood coming back, I hope that doesn't kind of derail Wedgwood's sort of rolling form.
Hopefully not.
Something to look out for. But yeah, I think McCarr coming in with 18 points in 13 games. I think he's got 5 more points than any other defenseman. So he's just killing it out there, showing just what a stud defenseman he is, both in defence and attack.
He's got that Norris Trophy. He's getting his kind of buffer out, ready to polish his next one, isn't he? Like you said with Blackwood, he'll be coming back and hopefully provide a bit more competition. Blackwood and Wedgwood, Colorado have wood. But they're on an absolute steamroll at the moment. But so are the next team that will.
We'll just say Taylor Swift, I think, has released a song to do with the Colorado goalkeeping tandem. But anyway, I didn't think you'd get a Taylor Swift reference.
Yeah, Prince and all the Swifties.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Next team then, the Winnipeg Jets. Second at the moment, still 18 points. They're 9-3-0 on the season. A massive plus 15 goal differential at the moment. And they picked up a couple of big wins this week against the Blackhawks and the Penguins. 6-3 against the Hawks, 5-2 against the Penguins. Again, they've just been absolutely terrific. They just outclassed the Blackhawks on the night. They showed why they're Stanley Cup contenders. And again, with the Penguins, they just absolutely kind of ran them out the building. Kyle Connor as well, another one who signed a recent deal and is just flying off the back end of that. He's got 17 points in 12 games, but 20 points in 12 games from Mark Scheifele as well. Is just absolutely crushing it, both in goals and assists this year. Thoughts on the Jets, Nathaniel?
They're who we thought they were going to be. They're just smashing it every game. They're dominating. They're picking up speed now. Away trip against the Kings, Sharks and Ducks. It wouldn't surprise me if they sweep those games as well, and just really put a stronghold on this tough Central Division. I think it's between them and Colorado really for Stanley Cup contenders from the West, certainly at this point in the season. Not really much more to say. They're just top quality, and they're just carrying on from what they were doing last year.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd finally touch on with them is just getting some solid backup goaltending from Comrie as well. He's got 3 wins from 3 games played this season. He's got a 929 save percentage on the year, which I know it's obviously a small sample size, but just helps with the knowledge that they can rest Connor Hellebuck a little bit more if they need to, knowing that they've got a competent backup behind him. I think certainly come playoff time, I think that'll be important to share that workload and make sure he's not gassed out before the end of the year.
Yeah. Absolutely, but again, that's just a minor touch point. I think for these Jets, I think.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's what I think the focus point is. Obviously keeping fresh, as you say. But I don't necessarily think they're too concerned about who their backup goaltender is at this part of the season. They can
probably not.
Whoever they
probably
want
not.
to, and still be all right.
Yeah.
So in contrast, they've dropped a spot this week. The Utah Mammoth. Third in the division with 16 points. They only played 1 game this week against the Lightning, which they lost 4-2. So they've got a record of 8-3-0 on a plus 10. So really not much to say about the Utah Mammoth this week. I watched that game and it was a fairly closely fought game. It wasn't dominated. They just lost one of those 50-50 kind of games. Lightning scored an empty net goal at the end, I think.
Yeah, we're starting to see the Lightning. They're picking up, aren't they? They're picking up with the Lightning. Sorry to cut you off there. They're picking up a bit more now at Tampa, and it was a closely fought game, which I think will make them happy. They're out there competing with some of the best in the National Hockey League, and I think that's probably more than a lot of people were expecting from them prior to the season starting. So. Yeah, I think they'll be reasonably happy with that. I think in terms of where they're at, they're still 8-3-0 on the season, so they're still looking good. And they've got a road trip coming up. They've got the Sabres, the Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Ottawa Senators. So I think there's definitely some wins to be had. On the flip side, if they come out of that slightly poorly, they come away with maybe, I don't know, 2 points from those 4 games. I think that's going to start, maybe making some of those players a bit nervous. But right now they're riding a wave, the mammoth-sized wave, and they're getting some really good. Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's horrendous, wasn't it? But yeah, if they can still get some good production from the likes of Schmaltz and Cooley, Gunther, Keller, etc., they're getting good scoring from kind of up and down the lineup a little bit at the moment. Even Paterka chipping in as well with 10 points in 12 games. So yeah, I think there'll be, I think this road trip's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think what's good about the Utah Mammoth, and again, not to go into it with the one game this week, but they haven't got that sort of one superstar that's carrying them. Obviously, Schmaltz is way ahead on the points, but I feel like they're more of a joint team. They're strong across lines, etc., which is a good roster building. Obviously, we touched upon how it's pretty much the same roster as they had in Arizona for the most part, with a few small tweaks here and there. But I just think they're building forward as a team, and it is good to see for them.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it is interesting as well for Nick Schmaltz to turn up and start absolutely racking in points the year that he needs a new contract as well. So I think every good game he has, I think the management in Utah, I think they're just going to be having to add another little bit on top of whatever that next contract's going to be. But if I'm Nick Schmaltz, I'm trying to see how much momentum I can gain, how many points I get before I sign that deal, and try and make as much money as possible.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think he needs to sign a new contract sooner rather than later, because I do think he'll drop off and come back to where we sort of expect him to be. So, do a push for the rest of the year, absolutely. Get that contract signed, get the big money now while you're top of the scoring charts on your team. Why not? But with that, we'll move into the fourth team then. Non-mover, Dallas Stars. Bit of a weird week for the Dallas Stars. They played 2 games, 2 tough ones in Florida against the Lightning and the Panthers. Come out with sort of overtime losses both times. One in overtime, one in a shootout. So, what are your thoughts about the Dallas this week?
Yeah, they just keep doing it, don't they? They'll go through a week of winning, week of losing, week of winning, week of some games of losing. They're just really hard to predict. I mean, like we said, there were 2 tricky games, weren't they, against Tampa and Florida. 2 points from those 2 games. Yeah, I think that's going to keep them right up there in contention. With where they need to be. Nice little kind of week for Sam Steele in there as well, chipping in with some assists across those games. But look, shootouts, we say it all the time. It's a complete flip of a coin, and all it can take is one person to have a little individual moment of brilliance, and that gets you the win for your team. But yeah, they're still looking good. I think when all's said and done, I think they'll start hitting some good patches of form, and they'll start climbing up those rankings. I mean, I do think they will overtake Utah at some point over the course of this season, and I think that top 3 in the Central will be pretty locked in. But yeah, they've got the Oilers and the Ducks coming up at home before they go away to Nashville, and then they're at home to Seattle. So, again, if the trend's to follow itself, they'll go ahead and win all of those. But I think they'll definitely pick up some wins within that, and they'll be hoping for maybe a couple of big ones just to sort of reinsert that confidence up and down the lineup, I think.
Yeah. I asked this question with in mind he has scored 14 points in 12, but are you seeing enough from Rantanen in the early part of the season?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a new coach, wasn't it? New coach, new system. That's going to take a little bit of getting used to. And a player of Mikko Rantanen's quality still performing at over a point per game. So it's not we don't need to kind of start kind of throwing all the questions up there. And I think he is playing well. But I think as this season kind of moves along, and as the system sort of fully embeds itself, I could see him going on a bit of a hot streak, and he will, for me, he'll end the season at over a point per game. Could be up there 90, could even maybe hit 100 points if he hits a couple of hot streaks. But at the moment, maybe not right now, but not in any way that's concerning whatsoever.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just he's doing well. He's doing well enough. I just expected him, when he went to Dallas at the end of last year, and it just completely went red hot. I just thought, is this the new Rantanen? Has he fully unlocked as a demigod in this team? And he's kind of just maybe pulled back a little bit. But what I will say about Ranson is I'm not sure whether you saw the clip, and I can't remember the other player's name. I think it was against the Lightning. Somebody tried to back check him and literally got flatlined off his own hit. And Ranson just sort of sat there.
Yeah, he's a beast, isn't he? He's an absolute monster. He's just out there just running people over, and I think that's why he's got such a skill set in terms of his speed and his power as well. Obviously, he's a big boy, as you know, so he absolutely has the capacity to just go out there and run somebody over, and then also pop up at the other end and stick the puck in the net. So yeah,
He didn't even run over. He just stood still, and somebody drove in, tried to hit him from behind, and they ended up one on the floor with a concussion, not him. Anyway. He's like a brick wall there, but
he is. He's solid.
Solid dude.
Yeah. Right. 5th place in the Central, Chicago Blackhawks. They're 5-4-3 on the season. I'm still happy with Chicago. I think that everyone thought they were going to be sat around 8th in the Central. I think pretty much every pundit with some sort of credibility was predicting the Blackhawks to finish 8th in the Central, maybe 7th at a push, but they sit there in 5th at the moment. Couple of losses against the Jets and the Oilers. I covered the Jets game; they were just outclassed on the night. But that Oilers game, this is the team who the Stanley Cup finalists the last 2 years in a row, and they went toe to toe with them the entire game. Burakovsky's been in some great form recently. Bedard's kind of racking up some points now as well. He's got 15 points in 12 on the season as well. So yeah, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. Bit of a shaky game from Spencer Knight against Winnipeg, but he bounced back fully against Edmonton. So I'm happy with them, to be honest. I don't know about you.
Yeah, still an upward arrow for the Blackhawks. I think. Yeah, you come out a week against the Jets and the Oilers. You think that is a rough matchup, and you come out with a point. Yeah, okay. So I just think they're a team on the up. 5th place sounds about right. 5th, 6th in this division. I think will go a long way for you and all the other fans who were cheering them on for some progress being made. Obviously, big away trip against the Kraken, Canucks, Flames, and Red Wings coming up. I fancy them to at least come out with that with 4 points. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think two wins from those 4 games, I think would be good. Anything else on top of that is an absolute bonus. So yeah, I think they're playing without any fear at the moment. Is this team, and that's really really good to see. And Burakovsky's been a real breath of fresh air, and genuinely looks like a player who has the top 6 forward quality, to actually be out there and mix it up with Bedard a little bit, which is nice to see. Providing he stays fit and healthy. Obviously, now it's been a bit of an issue for him, but if he keeps going with it, then happy days.
Yeah, I think Bedard as well is well on track to have not a breakout year, because I think he's broke out. He's a superstar in of himself, but just watching him in those games, he's still taking shots and snipes, great shots, not quite going in, not quite finding the way in. But I just know he will hit his own form, and everything he touches will turn to gold, and he'll have an absolutely amazing week. And yeah, all the people who comparing him to Celebrini.
Oh Christ, yeah, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. I think to be fair, my favourite thing about his game this season is he's playing. I think they refer to it over in North America as like a bit of a red ass, and just like he's not not out there. He's not out there getting pushed around. A bit of a red ass. And he's going out there. He's getting mixed in the scrums. He's pushing people around. He's not letting he's not going to go out there and just sort of get manhandled by anyone. So yeah, he's that's an aspect that I've been really sort of happy to have seen this year. Is he's kind of sticking up for himself a little bit more. I don't know if it's just like an age thing or maybe he's feeling more confident in the league. But I've been happy to see that anyway.
So the year 6 person hanging around with year 7 person hanging around with the year 10, didn't he?
Yeah.
Taking his colours in the ears. Playing in the big leagues.
Yeah, he is cool. Yeah. He's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy, yeah. Anyway, right. Nashville Predators in 6th place still. 12 points. They split the two games that they've played this week. They lost against the Flyers 4-1. That was a poor game by Nashville in that one. And then they came out and beat the Flames 4-2, which, judged by the Flames this season, is just run-of-the-mill game. So, yeah, split thing by Nashville. I think Nashville and the Blackhawks are going to be sort of a boat race for 5th and 6th this year, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'd agree. For me, there isn't anything on that Nashville team that excites me. I mean, their highest point scorer this season is Ryan O'Reilly with 9 points in 13 games, which I know that Nashville aren't a great team, but they don't even really have like a standout player of any sorts. And yeah, you're right. That game against Philly was rough. That was really rough. They absolutely got curb stomped on the night. And then, like a victory against Calgary is kind of what anyone would expect at the moment. But yeah, they've got 3 home games and a road trip coming up in their next 4. They're at home to the Canucks and they go away to Minnesota to do battle with your Wild. And then they've got another game against the Flyers and then they finish on the Dallas Stars. So yeah, they'll be hoping they can get Roman Josi back. I think if he's not already back, I believe he's still out at the moment. But yeah, I think 6th place, 7th place, that's roughly where they're going to end up this year. Nothing much more to say on Nashville for me.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to talk about them, not just for the fact they're a little bit on the boring side, but I think they're going to be like win a game, lose a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, lose a game, win a game. They're
just
going to
patchy.
There's going to be no trends. It's just patchy. Like they're great when they get it together. They're sort of a good team who can sort of battle anyone, but more often than not, they'll just fall short. But we'll see. We'll see about them. They're not awful by any means, stretching the imagination. There's a lot worse teams out there.
Like the Minnesota Wild.
One of which I hope. I was about to jump ahead here and say, hopefully not like the Minnesota Wild. Look, they're 7th, they've got 11 points, they haven't moved this week. They've got a record of 4, 6, and 3, which when you read it, I can't believe it's got to that point already. But, I mean, we lost against the Penguins, which was just run-of-the-mill, same sort of game as we've been playing all year recently. Just can't get anything going, just looking unmotivated and quite pathetic. And then we came out against the Canucks and we started out well with a few good players. Tarasenko actually getting off his backside and doing something this week, which is good. Getting some points. We won that game 5-2. Again, that was a game I was still thinking, right, and when are we gonna suck again? When are you gonna score a few and get back into the game? And it never happened. So I think that says more about the Canucks than really the Wild. They're not a team that I'm trusting right now to fully turn it around. There's big buzzers about if John Hines is gonna keep on going. We'll see.
Yeah,
there's just no inspiration. It's a bit of a sad time in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, it is, and like you say, I think potentially they run the risk of having to go, down another coaching change. And look, American Thanksgiving is the 27th of November this year. Above, they've got to be above sort of 7th place in the Central if he's got, if he wants any chance of keeping his job. But just a question for you, Nathaniel, do you see, I mean, obviously they've got the Predators, Hurricanes, Islanders and Flames coming up, so maybe that Carolina game's going to be tough, but hopefully some games in there that you would like to think he can win. Is John Hines still in the job come US Thanksgiving?
Oh, that, not to push it down the line a bit, I think that depends on the upcoming schedule. And I'd say we need to get at least 6 points out of these next 4 games. It was better against the Canucks, but was that because of what Hines has done? He made no real changes between. He's partnering the 2 rookies on the third line of the defence, and they're obviously struggling a little bit defensively. Like he's mixing it up. He's got Johansson on the top line, who has been doing well recently as well, but I think he's gone. That's where it comes down to. I just don't think there'll be enough, especially when there's a head coach out there. And I'm not sure how I feel about this, and this might be another subject to deep dive further down the line. But Pete DeBoer for the Dallas Stars, I mean, he's known for getting teams out the first round and not much further. I would take that.
He's get you into the first round first.
Yeah, well, this is where we've been. We've been wildcard team, sort of first round team in the playoffs for a long, long time, and we really thought we'll step up and what do we need to do to get to the second round, but we've actually taken a step back and we're probably not going to get into the playoffs this year. So it's not going to move forward. Hines is not handling the roster well. It's the same old, and it comes down to the GM as well. Potentially the GM's gone as well here.
Yeah,
It is
potentially.
in danger of becoming a big blow up situation.
Yeah, and then whichever GM takes on that role is going to have to deal with the hand grenade Kaprizov contract, aren't they? And manage that, which would be a nice little parting gift from the GM if he was to go. But yeah,
I don't think Kaprizov's the issue necessarily. I don't think his contract either is the big thing. I don't think he's going to be. It's not like a Nashville Predators sign all these veterans on contracts and taking free cap space with that. He's a star player. He's still got 16 points and 13. He's going to be just fine. And they'll be able to build a team around that. No issues.
But the media narrative.
Management
you know the media narrative though is just going to be that though, isn't it? It's just going to be they really ballsed up that Kaprizov signing and now that's derailed the whole team and it's just going to be used as a stick to beat them with. I completely agree with you for what it's worth. I think we're not talking about Kaprizov having 6 points in 13 games, or we were talking about 16. He's performing as advertised. Most importantly, he's played all 13 games so far this season, which is a big plus. I've absolutely doomed him there. But yeah, he's going to be absolutely fine. I just stop it. Oh dear. But at least they're not bottom of the Central, right?
No, at least they're not bottom of the Central. That's what we've got going for it. St. Louis Blues. Man. They lost both their games this week. One in a shootout to the Canucks, and then one to the Blue Jackets. I guess both on paper, both close games, but they're just not a team that can seemingly win a game right now.
No, and say I know I've mentioned it in previous episodes, but I think Jordan Kyrou gets traded before the deadline. I think they look at writing off this season. They see someone like Gavin McKenna, and they think, but then again, Jordan Kyrou, he's still young and he's such a good player. But like, if they were really wanting to go balls to the wall and tank for McKenna, then what a better way to do that than to shift off Jordan Kyrou, and you would get a massive return for someone like Jordan Kyrou. Yeah, like you said, they just seem incapable of winning anything at the moment.
It's really surprising when we talked about the start of the year. Then I was particularly quite hot for Jim Montgomery coming in and doing well with the Blues this year, but it's just not happened. Is it on coaching? Is it on the squad? Is it styles not matching up? What is it? They're on a -17. All their top line players, their top scorers, Kyrou on 8 points in 12. They're not producing, are they? So no. I don't know, tricky. But some teams just have to be bad, I guess. In order for other teams to be good.
Some teams have to finish around the bottom of the standings. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, the goalkeeper tandem's been awful for this year as well. Can't save it. I don't know what analogy I could use here, but it won't be good enough to do it justice for how much they can't save anything.
Couldn't catch a cold. That's somewhat topical, I suppose.
Yeah.
Slightly deflated on the St. Louis Blues, but they're bottom of the Central. What do we expect?
They got the Blues.
Let's move up to
bad pun, 1-on-1.
Yeah, stop it. Right, let's move back up to talk about some good teams. Let's move into the Metro, shall we?
Yeah, now the two divisions we're going to be talking about next, both the Eastern Conference, the Metro and the Atlantic. And before we start getting into it, I just want to note out the symmetry when we talk about these two divisions. So they got two teams joint on top with 18 points, followed by three teams on 14 points, and then three teams on 13 points. So very close. You got two front runners seemingly, and then a very close-knit group afterwards. But I just thought it fascinating that both divisions had so identical records at this part of the season.
Yeah, it's one of those just like weird little stars aligning moments, isn't it? Where like both divisions have identical, not records as such, but identical points totals and standings and everything. It's just really weird. Yeah, I can't explain it. Some sort of phenomenon.
Halloween phenomenon.
Yeah, well, that's it. It has just been spooky season, so yeah, the NHL providing us with all the kind of creepy, spooky, kind of statistics. The New Jersey Devils.
Let's actually talk about the teams. Yeah,
the New Jersey Devils. They're still top of the Metro. They're 9-4-0 on the season. 3 games played since our last episode. A win and 2 losses. Beat the Kings 4-1. Lost to the Sharks 5-2. And then also lost to the Anaheim Ducks 4-1. So yeah, they got a little bit of took a couple of California canings, unfortunately for them, but still top of the Metro, still doing absolutely fine. Yeah, Dawson Mercer's had a great week as well, 4 goals and an assist in those 3 games for him, so he's lighting it up. Jack Hughes still looking fantastic as well. He's got 16 points in 13 games on the season, 10 goals as well, so he's looking every bit the part. But what a weird little week for New Jersey.
Yeah. Some teams can have these kind of weeks, don't they? I mean, it's a away trip, the other side of the country. I'm not sure whether professional athletes can use this excuse, but I mean, I think it's pretty clear that might be what it is. Do I have concerns about them moving forward? No, not really. We've said already the Sharks are kind of like there's an annoying, irritating teams who can't, like the fourth line grinder who just chirps at you and who's rubbish at hockey, but just chirps you all the time. And I think the Devils fell to them. The Ducks, who will come on to, they're no easy beat either. And obviously they showed their class by beating the best team out of the 3, potentially in the Kings 4-1. So it's kind of hot and cold. Again, I'm not panicking yet. They're still top of the Metro, and with some of the teams they've got in that division, I still think they're going to walk into the playoffs with them. They've got 2 home games to come up, so let's see if they can wrap up nice and warm in New Jersey again against the Montreal Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who, as we'll soon find out, may be pushing them all the way. But yeah, solid week-ish for the Devils. Again, they're still on top.
Keeps them up there, doesn't it? Keeps them up there. But yeah, you're not kidding. The Pittsburgh Penguins are they're just one of the biggest surprise package in the league this year. They've just been absolutely ridiculous. The only team before the start of the season, it was like, yeah, these guys are going to be shit. Like they're not even going to try this year. You've got McKenna there. You've got him playing at Penn State as well. So like he's going to be right there under the noses. So just be like as terrible as possible. And Pittsburgh were like, nah, we're just going to go out and just absolutely just batter teams. Beat Minnesota 4-1. They did lose to the Jets 5-2, but as we've covered, the Jets are they're a good team. But they've got 18 points on the season. They're 8-3-2 with a plus 10 goal differential. They're getting good goaltending from Tristan Jarry. Who'd have thought? Do you see that the Malkin slash? I think he got fined the league maximum for that. He got fined a whopping $5,000. That was a chunky one, wasn't it? He absolutely whipped him with it.
Yeah, it's that with complete malice. No, oops, I didn't mean to do that. No, it was clear as day. He just assaulted him for some reason. I think it's crazy how they can only fine somebody $5,000 for that, considering they're on millions of pounds a year. I mean, you could easily just break somebody's hand. Like, look at Brady Tkachuk in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Like, a move like that can put out a star player. I mean, why aren't players doing this the whole time? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. You said they're earning millions of pounds. That number's even bigger when you work out in dollars as well. Sorry, that's me being incredibly picky. Sorry, we're used to talking about pounds and pence, not dollars and cents. They've got a couple of home games, couple of road trips coming up. They've got the Maple Leafs coming up away. Then they're at home to the Capitals, away to the Devils, home to the Kings. So it's going to be a tricky week for Pittsburgh, I think. But then if they come out the other side of this with, again, a couple of wins from those 4 games, they're going to be right up there. if Malkin and Crosby can keep producing, and if the absolute wild card Justin Brazeau can keep scoring goals as well, then it's sky's the limit for them. And I think they're trying to prove a point to a lot of people who doubted him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a solid defense as well, making sure their goaltenders are putting up good results as well, which is the big weak point we would have thought about as well. But I still think they're the team that are at risk of dropping out over the New Jersey Devils. But one team in third place, the Carolina Hurricanes, on 14 points, I think have been a victim of probably playing a few less games than other teams and are more likely going to be up there. They played a game against the Islanders and beat them 6-2 fairly comfortably, and then lost in a wild one against the Bruins 2-1. So they've got a record of 7-4-0. Again, I think they're a solid team, no real standout players. They're churning out results, and obviously I think they need to play more games, which they will be doing next week.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem to have been sort of lagging behind in the actual fixtures played. That being said, they're still up in third place though in their division. So just kind of highlights what a good week they're having. Really like Nikishin as well, the young defenseman. He's had another good week, and I know in our last episode that we did our teams of the season so far, and I know that he made yours, didn't he? In the we decided we had to have at least a rookie in there on each team, and Nikishin made yours. But they've just been a really solid team, kind of as we expected them to be. They were 6th in our power rankings before the season started, but they've got the Rangers coming up at Madison Square Garden, which has just been absolutely cursed for them this season. Then they've got the Wild and the Sabres, and then the Maple Leafs. So again, I think for a team of Carolina's caliber, I think they'll be hoping to get some more W's in the column, I think. But yeah, getting some good goaltending as well from Freddie Anderson and Brandon Bussey as well. Brings a smirk to my face every time.
What does that rhyme with, Matt?
Well,
let's move.
let's move away before we get cancelled.
The fourth team in the Metro at the minute, another team on 14 points, is the Columbus Blue Jackets, moving up 2 spots. Record of 7-5-0. They've just lost one more game than the Hurricanes on a +4. Now they've had a good week. Obviously they came off a good week from last week, but they continued winning, beating the Maple Leafs 6-3, the Blues 3-2. And then they should have won last night against the Islanders as well, but kind of choked it in the last minute. But no, good, solid week for the Blue Jackets, really. They're coming back to where we expected them to be after a slow start.
Yeah, like I said, they started slow, and we were saying they're going to need to start kind of stringing some results together if they're going to want to try and sort of push for those wild card places. And yeah, they're doing that. They just got chaffered against the Islanders last night, didn't they? But yeah, they're still doing pretty good. They're making their way up. They're still getting some decent goaltending from Merzlikins and Greaves as well, who are both above a .900 save percentage on the season and both under 3 goals against average per game. So they're doing pretty well. They've got a couple of road games coming up against the Flames and the Canucks, so they'll be hoping they can keep pushing in the right direction and keep working their way up. Keep working their way up the standings and try and get back in some. I think they're going to be a wild card team for me, I think, at best. But they're moving the right way towards doing it.
Yeah. Oh, it surprised me in this division as we talk about it moving forward that they couldn't sneak up and get that third spot. I think Carolina and New Jersey are the teams to beat in this division. But after that, I think it's going to be a wild race to the end. But yeah. But we'll go on to the 5th place team, also on 14 points, up 2 spots again with a 6-5-2 record, the New York Rangers, and more like the New York overtime winners. I think after this week.
Yeah, again, couple of OT wins. Absolutely, kind of clutching up when it matters most. couple of road games, couple of road wins. So, providing the Rangers stay as far away as possible from their home ice this season, I think they'll look pretty good. Unfortunately, they are back at home in that next game against the Hurricanes. And then they go on the road to the Red Wings, and then they're back at home for for a New York derby against the Islanders. Yeah, the Rangers have been a real sort of enigma this year, haven't they? I think we just can't quite decide sort of where it is they're going to be. If they can, they could be a really streaky team this year, but they'll be certainly hoping for better, I think. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on them? Are they better than what they're showing at the moment, or are they kind of right where they need to be? Obviously, they were poor last year. I don't know. They're just a bit weird, aren't they?
I just think there's fundamental flaws in sort of like the game plans. I think they're not attacking, they're not scoring, they're not like that. They've shown they've got a good defense. Shesterkin's having a good year in there. I mean, Adam Fox is their top scorer by 3 points at the minute. And when your D-man's top, okay, Cale Mackay can expect to be in sort of the top, one of the top spots in Colorado's sort of squad for points generating, but for a D-man to be 3 points clear of your first forward is it's just crazy. And to me, the fact it's gone on for so long now, they played sort of 13 games into the season now, it's not just a bad couple of games. It just seemed to be a flaw within this team that they can't produce offense, really. That's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're just very much a wait and see team, I think. I'm not ready to commit one way or the other on the Rangers.
I think they're trending down again. I think you'll have a similar season to last year, personally. But who knows? I could be wrong. Quite often are, generally speaking. So yeah.
So from one New York team to another, go to the Islanders, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is a team who's had a good week, really. And they moved up 2 spots. They're the first team on 13 points. Obviously, they were rooted to the bottom of the division last week. Record 6-5-1. They lost on the road to the Hurricanes, which is which I guess it could be seen as a given. But then they've really sort of taken a stronghold in the division itself by beating the Capitals and the Blue Jackets in back-to-back games. So I think they're not a team to be sort of ruled out and said not to be considered. Schaefer coming in with 3 goals in 3 games as your D-man, rookie D-man. I think he's having an absolute great season. What a great player he is. But I think when you're looking at the schedule coming up as well against the Bruins and the Wild at home and then away at Rangers in that New York derby mentioned above, I think this is the point. This is the point where they can take a stronghold in this division for sort of like a wild card spot. Yeah, potentially get one over on the Rangers, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's what a week for Matthew Schaefer. He's just showing how, why he was picked first overall. Even with that slightly injury hit year last year, I know he didn't play a lot of hockey, but it showed a lot about his ability. That even with 20 games played or whatever it was that he did have. That he was still able to go first overall, and he's absolutely repaying the Islanders for that this year. 5 goals and 5 assists in 12 games. I was just having a look whilst you were talking there. So just to use Lane Hutson as a comparison, last year obviously he won the Calder Trophy with 66 points on the year. Do you think Matthew Schaefer achieves 66 points this year, or do you think he comes in slightly short of that? Obviously, I think Hudson played on a better team, but then potentially Schaefer's got more opportunities to be in top line minutes or power play, etc. Do you see him kind of over or under that number?
If he doesn't get there, it'd be really close. It is tricky to forecast because injuries and stuff might come into play. I think he's shown that he has got the skills and the quality, and if things turn out right, I think he will sort of beat that score total. I think when we talk about rookie defensemen and 66 points, I think that is a high bar to really, say, with any true conviction that he's definitely going to get over that. There's a lot more factors which will bring that under. So I will say under, not to put dirt on his name. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a stud, and he's going to be a mainstay for years for this Islanders team. So yeah, I'll go with under, but I'll be obviously really happy if he doesn't do that and he proves me wrong again. I won't be upset.
Yeah, so if he currently plays, I've just been doing a little bit of maths while you've been speaking there. If he continues on his current point pace, and he was to play all 82 games in this regular season, his point projection in total would be 68.3 points. So 68 points in 82 games, which would obviously have him coming in just past Hudson. But I don't know, it's going to be close, isn't it? For me, I think he hits 60, but whether or not he goes over that or not, we'll just have to wait and see. There's so many variables over the course of a season, isn't there? But I think they've got a good opportunity, like you said, to leapfrog the Rangers. But it'll just depend if they can kind of muster up a bit of consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a better team than last in the division. I think the Islanders. Now, the next team, then, if you're ready to move on, the Washington Capitals. So, with all these teams moving up, there has to be some teams that move down, and they've had a bit of an odd week. They lost against the Islanders, as we discussed before, and then lost in a shootout against the Sabres. So, a bit of a weird one. It's cost them 3 places in the division. They're 6-5-1 record. Do you think the Capitals? Do you think the Capitals are better than where they are?
Yeah, I think better than 7th. I think that's for sure. They've just had a bit of a crap week, really. And like you said, with some other teams picking up some wins, people are going to slide. I think they're certainly better than 7th in the division. I don't know if they're like a top 3 in the division kind of team or not, but I don't know. They're a tricky one. They're getting some good production from the likes of Wilson and Strome and Protas, etc. But yeah, they're a weird one. They've got the Blues, the Penguins, and the Lightning coming up, which on paper before the start of the season you'd have said they'd have had a good shot at winning all of those games. A tight one against the Lightning for sure, but I think they could hopefully go out there and get a victory against the Blues, but the 2 away trips against the Penguins and the Lightning is going to be tricky. But again, they're another team who they're going to have to start, if they've got playoff aspirations, they're going to have to start sort of picking it up. We're not 3-4 games into the season anymore. These teams are going to have to start kind of stringing some wins together if they want to start moving up the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main issue here, is they're missing Ovechkin scoring. Defensively, they're very solid. Some production, but Ovechkin doesn't seem to be cutting it this year. Only 2 goals in 12 games. He's known to be a goal scorer rather than a playmaker. So that's the stats that seem to be dropping, really.
Yeah, agreed. They're just going to need to. They just need an extra 5-10%, don't they? And I think that'll get them over those kind of. Get them over the hump in some of those games that are as tight as they are.
Yeah. Now, last team in the Metro, the Philadelphia Flyers, again down 3 spots. The Philadelphia Flyers, they've beat the Predators 4-1, losing against the Maple Leafs 5-2 and the Flames 2-1. Hot and cold again, Philadelphia. They always seem to be in it. They're not never awful, but they just don't seem to have that quality to get over the line, really, I think.
Yeah, agreed. They'll want that loss against the Flames back. Obviously, in a tight one there against a team sort of sitting around the bottom of the standings at the moment. If they've got any aspirations of making their way up, those are the kind of games they've got to win. Especially at home as well. I think they'll be quite disappointed to just come away with the 2 points from those 3 home games as well. They go away to Montreal and Nashville before returning back home against the Senators. But one thing that I have enjoyed about the Flyers this season is we've got 13 points in 12 games from Trevor Zegras, which, I'm happy for the guy. He deserves to be somewhere that he's playing, playing his best hockey and, enjoying himself. So, it seems to be clicking for him there. So, yeah, power to him.
Yeah. A quick shout out, I guess, to Kolosov, the standing goaltender, who seems to have sort of replaced Erson for some reason. I don't know whether he's on IR or something. But I was watching that game against the Flames last night, and he took his helmet off. And then I didn't know who it was, to be fair. I wasn't really paying much attention. I was watching the NFL at the same time, but he suddenly, like, all I saw was this giant human flicking his really long hair back like he's in like a L'Oreal advert or something like that.
Yeah, he's
Great locks of hair, that lad.
yeah, 100% great. Yeah, great trim. Yeah, handsome boy. Uh,
On some
well,
point.
if you're gonna be
Caveman
around
in
the
a...
bottom, yeah, if you're gonna be around the bottom of the standings, at least have a handsome goaltender. Um, right, right. Let's move back up. Let's move back up the standings again. Some good teams. We'll move across to the Atlantic Division.
Yeah. Top of the standings again, same as last week. The Montreal Canadiens with 18 points, and that's with only playing one game this week against the Senators, which they won in overtime. What a derby game that was! Did you catch that game?
Yeah, I did. It was it was a biggie. Really, really good game. And again, Montreal they've been great in overtime this season, haven't they? They've just coming out on top, every time seemingly, and they're doing fantastic. We've touched on them so much over the course of the year, but what they're getting out of Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, as well as as Lane Hudson and Ivan Demidov with 10 points in 12 games as well, tied with Matthew Schaefer, I suppose, when you look at it that way as well. Yeah, they're just getting really good production. Jakob Dobes as well in goal has been awesome, absolutely awesome. And again, he's way better than I think anyone expected of him. I think everyone expected Sam Montembeault to get the bulk of the starts, but why would he when Dobes is playing that well?
It's kind of flipped on its head, isn't it? But I think this is a team that's going to be riding on the good feelings all the way throughout the year. It'd be a real shame if it came off the rails for any reason, but I don't see why it would. They got a home game against the Flyers coming up before travelling away to New Jersey, and then again at home against the Mammoth. So again, I see them doing well again this week, and the more good performances they put in, the more gap they're going to separate at the top, and yeah, maybe we'll see Montreal deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which it's great for the sport, isn't it? We love seeing Montreal being good. I certainly do. Anyway, I like Montreal as a team. Obviously, original six team steeped in history, and I think you just want to see them in the playoffs whenever you can. So yeah, I think that hopefully, as long as they keep cracking on and everyone keeps performing as they've performed so far, I think they'll start separating that gap and sort of assert themselves as a playoff team very quickly.
Yeah, but keeping up with them at the minute in the Atlantic, the Detroit Red Wings. Now, they've had a bit of a strange week as well. Talk about luck. They played 3 games this week, winning one and losing. Sorry, excuse me, winning two and losing one. When I can get my teeth in. But they had an away trip to the West Coast, playing the Kings, Ducks, and Sharks. There's another team that had the similar schedule to that, but they didn't do so well. But the Detroit Red Wings have done. They beat the Kings and the Sharks in the shootout before losing to the Ducks in regulation. So you talked about how shootouts can be sort of a coin flip, but they won 2 in a week.
Yeah, absolutely. That extra 2 points that they pick up, could be a massive difference maker for them at the end of the year. If we're talking, playoff spots, if we're talking wildcard spots, those little coin flips that come up trumps for you. You're laughing, aren't you? It'll be great for them. Dylan Larkin playing fantastic hockey, as is Alex DeBrincat as well. I know we've touched on him before in a previous one, but again, Emmett Finney, the rookie, it's just been again what a little story he's been as well. He's proper come to the fore this season, and is another guy who's going to sort of insert himself in the Calder trophy chat. I think come the end of the year if he keeps playing the way he's playing.
Absolutely. Even when he isn't in within the points, he's still putting in good shifts and helping his teammates out. And I think I love it when when players just come a bit out of nowhere and just do solidly, and then they're sort of the big names for the next few years, and then hopefully you can continue that on even further. But yeah, they got a reasonable schedule coming up. They're going away to the Golden Knights, and then home games against the Rangers and Blackhawks. And their goalkeeper tandem have seemed to have settled a little bit as well from the early start to the season. So yeah, seems like the Red Wings are motoring on.
Yeah. Oh, we are just bringing the puns this week, aren't we? Christ. Yeah, they've been great. They've been, Gibson and Talbot, they've really settled down into a nice consistent tandem. 7 games, 7 appearances each this season apiece. They're doing really good. But so are the team in third at the moment. Again, talking about sort of streaky teams making their way up the standings. The Tampa Bay Lightning. They've played 2 games since our last recording against the Stars and the Mammoth. Come out on top in both. They got the overtime win against the Stars, beat the Mammoth 4-2. So 2 big Central Division powerhouses there that they've come out on top against. So your thoughts been on the Lightning, Nathaniel? They've picked up a bit this week, haven't they?
Yeah, the storm has come in, and they're ready to make teams pay, I think.
Jesus Christ!
No, they've been the team we expected them to be at the start of the year now, Tampa, and I think they'll just keep on rolling. Obviously, it's been a fun start in this division because we wouldn't have expected to see Detroit or Montreal kind of up there. But I think Tampa Bay are in a position to just take over and could go all the way through if they want to do so. Again, they've got a tough schedule coming up against the Avalanche, Golden Knights away from home, and then at home against the Capitals. But all their players are picking up the pace. They haven't got an out-and-out points leader as such. Again, it's the same story of how all of their star players are all chipping in, all contributing, and they're just a well-rounded team. Not really much to really poke in at, really. They're just they're just a solid, good team.
Yeah, they are. They're a really deep, consistent team, aren't they? And John Cooper's built them to be especially that. You look at the likes of Gensel and Sorelli and Kucherov, and they've just got such depth up and down the lineup, and we know they can mix it up with the very best. And it's, like you said, a tricky week coming up for them. Away trips to Colorado and Vegas is no sort of easy feat at all. Well, we'll see how they do out of there. But like you said, I think they've potentially got capacity to kind of make their way sort of up those rankings. I'm not worried about Tampa at all. I haven't been worried about them pretty much all season, more or less. I think they're well positioned to go and get themselves a playoff spot, and I think they'll do exactly that. I think now that everything's they seem to have worked out all of the little issues that they've been having over the start of the year. I think they're sort of in pole position to sort of go on a bit of a, go on a big run and pick up, plenty of points and wins in the process.
Yeah. So we've talked about Lightning. Now let's talk about Thunder. The Ottawa Senators are a team that they certainly know when they play.
I'm going to have to start censoring these every time. Stop it. Monster.
No. Yeah. The Ottawa Senators with 14 points. They're just a berserker team. I don't know how else to really say it. Like, if you want to watch an entertaining game of hockey, just watch a Senators game in a minute.
Yeah, they've been really entertaining. You're certainly getting your money's worth as well. Obviously, they've got the shootout victory against the Flames, overtime loss against Montreal. But then again, that's been a lot of teams this year whenever they come up in OT against the Habs. But yeah, they've been good, and we were really concerned, weren't we, about the impact of losing Brady Tkachuk was and what that was going to have on the team. Batherson's got 15 points in 10 games, 14 points in 13 games for Stützle. Shane Pinto's still got 12 in 13. He's got 8 goals on the year as well, so he's looking dead sharp. And yeah, I think they're another team that will be looking ahead of them with some of the teams ahead and trying to see if they can kind of leapfrog some teams if they hit some sticky patches of form. Obviously, it's going to require them to, sort of keep up the way they've been playing, and hopefully when they're able to get the boost of adding Kachuk back into that lineup, they'll be able to pick up some more wins. But they've got a couple of away games coming up against the Bruins and the Flyers before they return back home to the Mammoth. So these are games they've got to look at winning if they're going to want to make themselves a playoff team.
Yeah, I don't quite see it. I think that the chaos that they leave is going to come back to bite them, and they'll end up sort of slowing down and running out of steam towards the end. I feel, especially with some of the teams that behind them in the standings that you'd expect to pick up the pace a little bit when crunch time comes around. So, whilst they're a fun team, and ultimately I don't feel like they're going to be going anywhere necessarily. They're still an entertaining watch as opposed to other teams, especially in this division where we don't really want to talk about them. But we'll move on to the fifth place team who've got themselves off the bottom of the division. The Boston Bruins, they're up 3 spots again with 14 points, a nice even record of 7 wins, 7 losses. Yeah, they've had a good week. They won both their games. They beat the Sabres in overtime, and then beat the Hurricanes 2-1 as well. So, what do you make of the Bruins week? Anything noteworthy of? Yeah.
Not massively. I just think that it goes to show kind of obviously how tight all the point standings are at the moment when they're able to move up 3 spots, with a couple of wins. So I know it's still sort of relatively early days and as far as the season goes, but they're looking, it's been a good week for them. That's kind of all you can say, really. Good win against the Hurricanes. They've got the Islanders, the Senators, and the Maple Leafs coming up. So a couple of interdivisional games there as well, which, gives them a good opportunity to potentially, climb some standings even further. But the Bruins don't particularly inspire me that much, as in particular. But yeah, I don't really have a massive amount to say about them, really.
No, it's surprising when the teams come off of 2 wins a week. You think you'd have a lot to talk about, but it's a good goaltending, I guess. Pasternak's still doing all right on the year. They've had the benefit of playing 14 games as well, which is an example of why they might be a bit higher up, considering the 3 teams below them have all got 13 points. So, because they could easily still be bottom of the standings, really, once you average it out. But yeah, let's see how you get on, Boston. And we'll leave it at that, I think.
Yeah.
Now, a team that's dropped a spot, the current Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, they've only played the 1 game this week and won it against the Stars in a shootout. However, they still drop a spot. And other than the fact they grinded out that victory, there's not much more really to say about the Panthers other than come on, get your backside into gear.
Yeah, I mean, just on like a little separate side note, obviously I know Brad Marchand has returned from his leave of personal absence, which, I can't imagine how difficult that must have been for him personally over the last week or two. And I know he's obviously a guy who around the league, he gets plenty of flack, does Brad Marchand, doesn't he? And, rightly so in terms of his on-ice stuff. But just in terms of Brad Marchand, the guy, I really hope for his sake that he's doing all right. And that he kind of feels, fit and ready to return. I know he's kind of helping his buddy out with his, with his coaching. I think I want to say it was like an under-18s team. So yeah, just really glad for him in that regards. But in terms of their on ice stuff, we say it every week. They're not a team built for the regular season. They got that shootout win against the Stars, which I'll be happy about. They've got the Ducks, the Kings, and the Sharks coming up, all on the road. So they'll start picking up some wins for sure.
Yeah, one of them. I don't think they're going to be storming this division, but with the rise of other teams in this division, how's that going to look for them scraping through in third or in the wild card spot? That's what my concern would be. With their injuries, have they just taken one hit too many? Too many things gone the wrong way, and they might fall on the wrong side of it. And even if they got the playoffs, they might have won it all. But if they don't get there and to start with, then they're not there, are they?
No.
Wait and see again. But the next team who are actually a team I generally quite stick on if they're playing, but they're actually really frustrating me at the minute. The Toronto Maple Leafs. They've dropped 4 spots this week down to 7th, but that comes with a loss to the Blue Jackets and win against the Flyers. But what do you think about the Maple Leafs this week? Are they frustrating you as much as they are me?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are frustrating me. The only thing that's kind of bringing me the inner peace is the 15 points that Nylander and Nyes have each picked up for my fantasy team. So I'm happy in that regard. But yeah, the actual team performance on ice has just been, just frustrating. They can't, just can't seem to make their minds up about what they want to do, who they want to beat, and it doesn't necessarily always work. That sort of linear. But yeah, they've got a home stretch coming up now, haven't they? They've got the Penguins, they've got the Mammoth, the Bruins, and the Hurricanes coming up. So certainly with the way those teams are playing, it's not going to be easy. But they're going to hope they can certainly, they're going to have to start getting some wins again. It sounds so strange to say, obviously, with there's only being like 12 games into the season, but you can't be getting yourself cut adrift, even at that early stage, and you've kind of got to start moving everything in the right direction, which I think they will. But they just need to figure out what they're doing, really.
Yeah, I mean, I watched part of that Blue Jackets game, and they were in it, but they're kind of not committed. They're just running out of ideas. They don't quite know. And all of a sudden, it's like the Blue Jackets are just putting together a good performance and just smashing goals past them. And you can see the players looking at each other, going, "What is going on?" A little bit. But yeah, I guess it's a positive that Nees and Nylander are doing well for your fantasy team. But maybe part of my frustration is that Matthews is not scoring as many as he should be, and he's on my fantasy team. So I'm sure all of you guys who are listening out there really care about our fantasy league. But that might be the cause of my frustration. But I think, yeah. So we'll see how they get on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole lot of wait and see in this division, isn't there? Are we waiting and seeing on the Buffalo Sabres? Or, I know they're currently bottom of the standings in their respective division. They do have 13 points though. They're 5-4-3 on the year. Overtime loss against the Bruins, but a shootout victory against the Capitals. So they picked up 3 points in the last 2 games. Alex Tuck's got 12 points in 12 games this year. Are they anything?
They're being just relevant enough, so we have to talk about them. But they're never going to amount to more than missing the playoffs. It's just irritating.
No.
We talk about the Sharks as being the friendly, nippy people who might annoy people here and there, but it's kind of they're the Sharks. Let them have their fun. Whereas the Sabres no, we will not let you have fun. You are destined to be the punching bag of this league for the end of time. Now stop winning close games because you're making it, so we have to talk about you. That's essentially what it's like before Sabres, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. They are like a massively uninteresting team, but they're just keeping themselves in games enough that we have to sort of dedicate airtime to them. They've got the Mammoth, the Blues, and the Hurricanes coming up. So honestly, I'm kind of throwing my hands up in the air with them at the moment, kind of going, I've got absolutely no idea. Got no idea. They're losing games you would expect them to be closer in. They're winning games you wouldn't expect them to win. I've just got no idea with them at the moment.
Yeah. And I think you're summarising now. I know you're not a big plus-minus guy, but I use this for emphasis. But generally speaking, if it's a good team, you have players with points and all on pluses. And then bad teams, you have players with points, and then they could all be on minuses. But for the Sabres, the top 5 scorers took Thompson, Doan, Darlene, and Benson. They got 12, 10, 9, 9, and 8 points each. But then they flip. They got +4, -4, +2, -8 for Darlene. That's shocking, that really. And then +3 for Benson, who's obviously only played 8 games.
Yeah, it's not what you want from your number one defenseman.
Doesn't even know really what they're doing.
No, yeah, they're
kind of all over the place. There's just they're kind of okay. How about this for a comparison? Old school TVs, when the signal used to come in and out and used to get a bit of static, a bit of grey screen or whatever you call it. They're just kind of like that. You can sort of see a hockey team there, but the signal keeps dropping, and regardless of that, you can still see hockey being played. And the signal still annoys you.
Yeah, if you squint hard enough, you can kind of see that there's
But
something,
yeah,
but you're really not sure, and then it keeps fading out a picture, and you're like, oh bollocks! I'll just change the channel.
you have a
Yeah.
headache once it's done. Yeah,
Oh dear. Right, let's move into the
absolutely.
final. Let's move into the final division, shall we? I'm done talking about the Sabres.
Yes, please. We always end up talking a lot
So
about the Sabres when we don't want to talk about the Sabres at all, and it's
yeah, I know.
just a rant every week. And we
Yeah,
always say
just
we won't speak about them that much, and then we end up
just
here we
yeah,
are 5 minutes
a
later
vent, isn't
going,
it?
right,
Yeah.
come on, let's crack
Right.
on.
Um, right. Final division, the Pacific Division,
But yeah,
currently
read off
being
on the Pacific Division then, Matt.
being led up 4 spots this week by the Anaheim Ducks. They're on 15 points for the year, 7-3-1 record. Couple of wins this week against the Red Wings and the Devils. So some good wins there. Some great goaltending performances from Lucas Dostal as well, who's done great. Leo Carlson with 1 goal and 4 assists in those as well. Gauthier with a goal and 3 assists. Yeah, been a big good couple of games for the Ducks, and it's kind of propelled them up the division.
Yeah, very solid team. I mean, we both were rating them highly coming into the season, and I think this is now the time that they're showing that they're quality. They got a record 7-3-1. They got goal scorers everywhere. Good goaltending in Dostal, sort of out of nowhere. And I mean, obviously we'll talk about this team coming up, but with Vegas not playing that much this week, they've taken the opportunity to go on a bit of a hot streak and put their name forward. So no longer are the Ducks a team you see on the schedule. You think, we've got a decent chance of a win here. It's now going, right, okay, how are we going to face this juggernaut of a team with lots of young players that's built right, with a returning head coach who's got pedigree. And he's just shown this week beating a decent run of Red Wings and Devils. They've not just won, they've kind of smashed them out the park. So if that
Mm.
continues against the Panthers at home, and then this is really where it shows where they're at when they're going against the Stars, against the Golden Knights, and then at home against the Jets.
Yeah,
Where did they come out after those 4 games will really
rubbish run.
show us a lot.
Yeah, it's a really rubbish run of games, that, isn't it? Really rubbish. I mean, you got, defending Stanley Cup champions and the likes of the Stars and the Golden Knights and the Jets. That's, like you said, come the end of those 4 games, we'll have a really good idea. But, I think they can hold their own in some of those games. I certainly don't see them kind of being potentially like waxed by any of those. That away trip to Vegas, though, that'll be a good game because they're currently second in the division at the moment, sort of tied on the same amount of points. So yeah, that'll be a really good sort of early season clash.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even looking back, when we look at the 6 game stretch, the Red Wings, Devils, Panthers, Stars, Golden Knights, Jets, what a run that's going to be. And that would make or break a season, especially this early on. So they passed the first test. Let's see if they can obviously keep that going. Um, all right. We'll go into the second team. We just spoke about them briefly, but the Vegas Golden Knights, they only had 1 game this week, and they lost the game 4-2 against the Avalanche. So again, a bit of a slow week. They've had a big, long, big sort of a big break where they can relax and get some players back potentially. But yeah, what are your thoughts about Vegas?
Yeah, obviously only the 1 game. It's just the loss to the Avalanche, wasn't it? Which, not a bad team to lose to. They're going to be right up there with, with cup contention. But I mean, nothing much more really. They're still performing exactly how we expected them to. Eichel's still, obviously like right up there in the point standings. They're getting everything they wanted out of Mitch Marner. Terrific from them. Obviously, they've got the Red Wings, the Lightning, and the Ducks coming up. So again, like a somewhat tricky lineup, but I think a team of Vegas's caliber would be hoping to go and get some points in there. So I think I'm feeling pretty good about them, to be honest.
Yeah, not much to say. They're still a juggernaut. They'll still come out and do well. Even though they don't have the best starts of the season, 15 points won't get you nearer the top. They're kind of not in the realms of Colorado, sort of Carolina, New Jersey, or that sort of level, really. But another team that's a bit on the up in this division is the Edmonton Oilers, also on 15 points. So 3 teams on 15 points atop this division at the minute. But the Edmonton Oilers love to play a long game. They lost in overtime against the Rangers and then beat your Blackhawks in overtime as well. So they sort of split the week in overtimes. What are your thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers? Are they sort of back on track?
Yeah, looking really good. Looking terrific. They're right, kind of getting themselves right back up there with where we expected them to be. Like you said, they're giving the fans the money's worth at the moment. But McDavid and Draisaitl again coming in doing what they do. Jack Roslovic as well, obviously signed as a free agent, and then slid right into their top power play unit like you do. But yeah, he's looked really good since he's gone in there as well. That power play was fantastic against Chicago, and but yeah, we're seeing the Oilers for what they are. They're a great team, and they're sort of right where we expected them to be. They got the Blue Stars and the Avalanche coming up. Some games I'm sure they'll hope they can win and get themselves right in there.
Am I wrong for thinking then that they're kind of alongside the Toronto Maple Leafs, it being a little bit frustrating in terms of that we know who they are, what they are, they're just not performing at that like top tier level where we expect them to be. Like they're better than how they're playing, even though they're moving up in their third. It's not quite the same as the Toronto situation, but when you look at it, they're 6-4-3. They have lost more games than they've won. I just think, get better. Come on, push. Like, be better than what you are doing.
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously, it is a marathon as opposed to a sprint, but we'll just have to. I'm sure they will. They'll reach that sort of hot streak and get in there.
Yeah. Right. Moving forward then into Seattle Kraken, who have sort of dropped down a little bit. They're on 14 points. They've dropped down 2 spots, 5-2-5 record. So they don't lose that many in regulation, to the Seattle team. But what they are seemingly doing is losing in overtime quite a bit. They've lost both their games this week as such, against the Rangers 4-3 and the Blackhawks 3-2. Joey Decord's still putting in decent-ish performances, but I think the Kraken are falling down a little bit to where they expect them to be, but I think it's mainly off just closing games out.
Yeah, they're kind of rounding out a little bit now. I think Seattle sort of around to where we figured they might be, sort of standings wise, anyway. But yeah, they just had that inability, I suppose, to get it done and over the line in overtime. So yeah, they're just kind of in that sort of middle spot, aren't they? They've got the Sharks, the Blues, and the Stars coming up. So I'm sure they will like to think there's a couple of winnable games in there. So it's going to be a tricky game against Dallas as well. But again, they're another team without sort of like a bona fide scorer. Obviously Jaden Schwartz leads the team at the moment, with 10 points in 11 games, but they haven't got someone who's kind of propping up the team with some sort of large point output at the moment. So yeah, it's I think they're just sort of right where we expected.
Yeah. Not much really to say about the Kraken, really. They're just in a bit of purgatory again, but we'll see how they get on. I certainly don't hate them at all. But a team that's had a poor week is the Los Angeles Kings. They're down 2 spots again with 14 points, so we're down to 5th spot in this division now, and they're all separated by a single point. But they've lost both their games this week. Once against the Red Wings in a shootout. We've covered shootouts enough already, but then lost against the Devils 4-1 in what was pretty much just a masterclass of sort of hockey, really. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Kings? They're solid, but they're not spectacular.
I think that sums it up perfectly. I think, to be honest, solid but not spectacular. Obviously, they're having some good individual seasons, especially from like Adrian Kempe, who made my sort of team of the season so far. In terms of forwards. But yeah, they've got the Jets, the Panthers, and the Penguins coming up. So tricky run of 3 games, and Yeah, they're going to need to bounce back. They're going to need to get back into that win column. I think that they can't really afford to go on a 5-game losing streak or anything like that. That's going to be the last thing that they want for a team with their ambitions. So hopefully they can work themselves back in there and pick up some wins.
Yeah. So we're moving sort of more towards the end of this podcast now, but we've got the Vancouver Canucks now with sort of in 6th place with 12 points, 6-7 record on the season. They beat the Blues in a penalty shootout and then lost against my Wild 5-2. They're not going to be any good this year either, the Canucks.
No, did notice they've got that 6-7 record at the moment. Yeah, they're just not going to be great. They're just not going to be great, are they? They're just going to be up and down. I think we were hoping for something a bit more sort of bounce back-ish this year, but I don't think it's going to come. They've got the Predators, Blackhawks, Blue Jackets, and Avalanche coming up. So there are some games that are winnable there, but just not with the way they're playing at the moment. They're looking really rough, and they're just not necessarily getting the production. Obviously, they re-signed Brock Besser over the summer. He's got 6 points in 11. That's probably not what they would have expected or wanted from him. And then even Quinn Hughes, he's got 7 points in 9 games, but I'm sure they would like to hope that they can keep him fit and keep him on the ice and get his point productivity up. They're still having a reasonable season from the likes of Thatcher Demko. He's playing very well. They're just not getting the actual kind of scoring support really, other than from Kiefer Sherwood, who's got 9 goals and no assists on the season.
Yeah. I just think this is all going to come to a head where there's no realistic sign things going to get any better in the short term, and Quinn Hughes will look to go to his brothers maybe. I don't know. We keep touching upon it. It's a storyline to keep an eye out on, but I just think this team isn't really going anywhere fast. And that call will just keep getting louder and louder and louder for him to move on, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Completely.
Now, in the past few weeks, we've been bunching these two teams together at the back end as they're both sort of the bottom of the league. But I'm going to give one team some more props and let's talk about them separately. San Jose Sharks, they're 7th, they're still in the same spot with 11 points, but they've actually won some games and they got points from every single game this week. They beat the Devils 5-2 in the what? They beat the Avalanche in overtime. Again, what? And then lost in a shootout against the Red Wings. So when we talked about them last week with the games they had up, we would have thought, 0 points, bottom of the league again, but they haven't quite done that, have they?
No, not massively. But they're giving some people things to talk about. So Celebrini's been terrific. Smith and Eklund as well. I mean, it goes to show their top 3 scorers are Celebrini, Eklund, and Smith on the season. They're getting everything they wanted in terms of their young players producing and looking sharp, looking good. Kraken, Jets, and the Panthers coming up. They'll probably end up getting points in those Jets and Panthers games, knowing them, but they're just out there to ruin everyone's good time, like we said earlier. I think they've been due their props this week. They've had a good week.
They've had a good week, and just no doubt they'll probably regress again. They're not going to they're not going to go on the run for the playoffs this year. I don't think, but they're interesting. Like, as much as we get on other teams' backs for not being that interesting, the Sharks are interesting. And Celebrini is showing that he could well be a better player than Bedard. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. But the teams are doing, the youngsters are doing great. I think it's their veterans. And again, I make jokes about comparing him to Bedard, but just look at the comparisons between the Sharks and the Blackhawks from a few years ago, where they're struggling to get out off the bottom, and it's taken them this year where the young players really take a step forward, the Blackhawks, and they're not having to rely on their veterans. And I see the same here with the Sharks. It's the veterans that are letting them down when they get sort of the veteran support like the Blackhawks do, I think they'll soon be moving the way up again. I think.
Completely agree. It's that is ultimately what you want, isn't it? Is the young guys to be the difference makers, and they're getting that at the moment. I'm just think that somewhere in Calgary, they're just going to want anyone to step up and do something for them at the moment.
Yeah, and they're not. I mean, they've, in contrast to this season so far, they've had a good week. I mean, they lost in a shootout, so that's a point. And they lost against the Predators, and then they beat the Flyers 2-1, but they just suck.
Yeah, they're just so bad.
They're just so bad watching the products on ice. It's just. I like the Calgary Flames as well. They're one of my pet teams normally. But if you just look like they had Cooley on 91 save percentage in the first game, which is spot on, and Wolf had a 944 against the Flyers. But they went 3-0 down against the Predators and pulled the Wolf after the first period. I was just like, this isn't Wolf's fault. Why are you pulling him? And then Cooley came in and he didn't concede a goal. They went out to lose 4-2 with the fourth goal being an empty net goal. I just think they're making wrong decisions. It is like they're making it blatantly obvious that they don't give a damn about the season, and we'll see you at the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see them. We'll see them drafting Macklin Celebrini. What am I on about? Gavin McKenna. Christ, my head's gone. Just thinking about this Calgary team with 8 points on the season. Christ. I think that's an ample place to wrap up. I think they're just looking rough, aren't they? Really, really rough.
Yeah. Right. So before we go, we'll touch on sort of the general point standings, etc. Now, in terms of the week, there's quite a few players with 5 points on the week, and short one: Mercer, Connor, Velarde, Kurashev, to name a few. Won't name them all because there's quite a lot of 5 points, but the top goal scorer of the week is Mercer with 4. So a good week for Mercer there. And in terms of the season, you got Shafley out front on 20 points for the season, and Eichel and McKinnon following close behind on 19. With McKinnon, Caulfield, and Jack Hughes each leading the goal scoring charts with 10 goals. So I'll leave you to announce the Penalty Box Perspective Award for penalty minutes. Who's done well this week? And obviously
it's back-to-back week, I believe, for Emil Lilleberg of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's got 31 penalty minutes on the season. Still holding that title, there to be dethroned. Looking forward to seeing who wants to come up and challenge him for that. But some big scorers, and new points leader in the league with Mark Scheifele. So good weeks all around, I think. For those guys. I think that kind of brings us to our weekly end. And is there anything else you want to say before I wrap everything up?
Other than, obviously, mini podcasts, I think we got another big surprise coming up. We've done some work behind the scenes. I'm really looking forward to this episode coming up. So keep your ears out for that. But otherwise, take us away.
Yeah, so as always, you can catch us on X and Instagram at the PBP Podcast, and you can get in touch with us on Gmail as well at penaltyboxperspective@gmail.com. Even if you've got any feedback or comments or anything along those lines. You can also leave us 5-star reviews if you'd like on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And we are also going to be releasing all of the episodes that we've done so far onto YouTube as well. So the podcast will now be available to listen to on YouTube. So don't forget to like and subscribe there as well. And again, thanks for all the all the feedback and the ratings that we've had so far. It's been really appreciated for what we're doing.
Yeah, we're getting certainly into the swing of things now. Obviously, technical gremlins out of the way. We're actually starting to look at how we can make positive changes rather than trying to counteract all the negative stuff we're trying to work through. So I think that's good for us. I'm certainly really enjoying this, and long may it continue. Really.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't agree more.
So, and with that, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.